Hello everyone, and welcome back to another video. This is the fourth episode of story where Naruto's potential is greater than Sasuke Uchiha's, but owing to a life of rejection, he wasn't what was expected, yet beneath every fake smile is a real person who hides out of fear. Watch as Naruto Uzumaki develops into the prodigy he was born to be, as he discovers his ancestors, both his father and the Uzumaki lineage. Please hit the subscribe and like buttons. Let's get this party started. Iruka sighed happily as he walked down the stairs. His blue Chunin uniform was comfortable, the warmth through the house made Iruka smile. It was the fact he wasn't alone, the presence in the house helped Iruka drastically. Naruto was calming, Iruka felt a snort escape his mouth before he could prevent it. Naruto and calm were two words he never thought he would put together when it came to Naruto. Iruka had to admit this new Naruto seemed to suit him, the calm and serene look on Naruto's face whenever he was thinking. It made Iruka realize Naruto had learned something that made him so at ease. As Iruka walked into the living area he felt himself sigh in sadness. Naruto was sat on the sofa, his head in his hands, a light sheen of sweat on his bare skin and forehead. The quilt was pillowed around his waist and covered his feet, a cup had fallen on the floor, and thankfully it was empty. Iruka saw the way Naruto's eyebrows were drawn together, as if in pain. Iruka moved to the television that was on silent. He turned it off and moved through the front room silently picking up the pillows strewn across the room. He moved slightly too close to Naruto and knocked the table with an audible bang. Naruto's eyes flew open, a red spiral seemed to spiral out from the pupil. He fixed his now red gaze on Iruka, his chest panting slightly. Iruka closed his eyes briefly and opened them slowly. Naruto's eyes were presenting and boasting a blood-red spiral, there was no sclera. Iruka realized the red was the exact same color as the Uchiha Sharingan. "Are you okay?" Naruto asked Iruka softly. Naruto seemed to blink out of his stupor and yawned widely, his joints clicking slightly. Yeah, sorry couldn't sleep," said Naruto sleepily. Iruka nodded and grabbed the glass that was on the floor. He watched as Naruto's eyes seemed to swirl and shrink leaving his silver eyes. "Nightmare again?" asked Iruka. Naruto gave a nod and Iruka sighed and placed the empty cup on the coffee table. He sat down in the single chair, laced his hands together and placed his elbows on his knees and looked at Naruto seriously. "What?" asked Naruto. He looked down at himself in confusion. Iruka just smiled at Naruto. "Tell me about your trip," said Iruka softly. Naruto raised an eyebrow. "Huh," said Naruto slightly. Iruka chuckled slightly and looked towards the large glass window at the back of the house. "You haven't spoken to me properly about what happened to you. I mean, you are different. You are calm now," said Iruka. Naruto smiled sadly, his eyes reflecting the still early morning. "I met my grandfather, Daisuke Uzumaki. He was the third Uzukage, and was considered one of the strongest. He created a seal, an advanced Fuinjutsu. It allowed a part of his soul to be sealed within a room, and when I got there, my flames activated the seal. He attacked me first, slight confusion, and then when I activated my flames, he realized who I was. He told me so much about myself, where my clan is from, my history. He told me about Mito Uzumaki," said Naruto. Iruka gasped. He was sure he wouldn't hear about that name for years to come. He remembered the day he was told to never teach Naruto's specific classes about Mito Uzumaki. Teachers before him were told the same. "Why don't you know about her?" asked Iruka. Naruto nodded seriously. "I was mad with the old man for so long, but Gramps taught me a lot. Like controlling emotions, and being forgiving. I almost considered leaving the village behind and rebuilding Uzu. But Gramps and Ibikini convinced me to leave, that my place was here. Gramps taught me so much, he gave me 2 Tanto, but I couldn't seem to grasp using both, hence why I only have 1. He taught me Fuinjutsu, and Fire Jutsu. But just being with family, real family who share my name, I felt so much better about life. My mom and dad were both great ninja, being a Kage is in my blood," said Naruto. Iruka felt himself smile at Naruto's words. Naruto did seem at peace. "Wait, so who is your real parents?" asked Iruka. Naruto smiled slightly. "Kushina Uzumaki and the 4th Hokage, Minato Namikaze," said Naruto. Iruka felt his heart thump behind his ears. "Kushina. I should have known your hair. All those years, and I never made the connection. She was an amazing ninja, a little loud and boisterous like you were, and the 4th. I should have known that," said Iruka. Shock was written all over his face. Naruto smiled slightly. "There is still so much to say. A month with being trained by Anko, Ibiki, and Gramps, I learned so much. I went from being nothing to low Jonin in a month," said Naruto. Iruka raised an eyebrow in further shock. "I always knew you were smart, the fact that you read so much and yet retained nothing, Something should have clicked with me, I should have noticed, said Iruka. Naruto shook his head calmly. It wouldn't have done any good, for all the good my parents had done. They made one crucial mistake. One cannot seal away abilities and looks without consequence. With all of those things sealed away, my mind soon followed. I am unsure if it was stress from sealing, or if it was an accident. All I know is, I am much smarter than what I was, said Naruto. Iruka nodded and looked Naruto over once again. He looked so much older, his face a mask of calm. So Naruto, what does it feel like? Aren't you conflicted, asked Iruka. He realized that many would struggle with such a change. Nizan, it took a complete month to fully settle in. I'm at peace with it, said Naruto, though the little inflection in his voice hinted at something more. But Naruto. Aren't you angry at Hokage-sama for hiding the truth, asked Iruka. Naruto sighed and smiled slightly. Sure, I am angry with him, but he is my Kage surrogate grandfather, I can't hate him, no matter how much I try, said Naruto. Iruka nodded and then suddenly perked up. So what about this space/time thing? It is eerily similar to the fourth Hiraishin, said Iruka. Naruto smiled slightly. Yeah, Dad and Mom had made probably their only collaborative jutsu together. It takes the idea of Hiraishin and turns it into something amazing, said Naruto. Iruka nodded and looked at Naruto eagerly. How is it done, asked Iruka. Naruto looked at him with a smirk. No offense, Niisan, but this technique has to stay close to home, I'm afraid, said Naruto softly. Iruka nodded seriously. Of course, such a strong ability, he can't just go spilling its secrets, Iruka thought to himself. He heard Naruto wince slightly and watched as Naruto slammed his eyes closed. What is it, asked Iruka in panic. Naruto opened his eyes, and Iruka watched in fascination as the spiral seemed to shrink, revealing the sclera. The red spiral shrunk enough that it was the size of the iris. The swirl seemed to spiral inwards. What is it, asked Naruto in panic. Iruka coughed slightly. Your eye has changed, the dojutsu has gotten smaller, it is now normal iris size, said Iruka. Naruto frowned slightly. He quickly stood and looked in the closest mirror. I suppose that's better, though I don't know why the color changed, said Naruto. Iruka frowned slightly. What do you mean color, asked Iruka. Naruto frowned slightly. Well, it started off as just plain rings, then the rings changed to spirals, my whole eyes were the dojutsu, then they turned red and shrink Sharingan size. I honestly think something is up with this dojutsu, said Naruto in confusion. Iruka frowned. What is it called, asked Iruka. Naruto smirked in the mirror. Watching the red fade into silver, he realized it looked more natural. The Rinnegan, said Naruto. Iruka felt a pit drop in his stomach as in the legendary dojutsu, asked Iruka. Naruto shook his head. It was, but with these changes, I don't know what is happening. It could be a number of things, and if what I think is happening, then I know a major secret, said Naruto cryptically. Iruka looked at the clock and blinked in shock. Naruto, you are going to be late, said Iruka. Naruto smirked. I still have a couple of hours before that lazy bastard shows up, said Naruto seriously. Iruka blinked in shock as Naruto walked past him towards the stairs. Naruto, just know, I am happy for you. You look good, said Iruka softly. Naruto smiled in happiness, and Iruka blinked as he realized Naruto's calm atmosphere was emphasized with the smile. Oh. Naruto walked past the tree line with a piece of toast hanging from his mouth. He looked at his teammates who were sat glaring at him. Breaking rules already, Dobi smirked Sasuke. Sakura blushed at Sasuke and frowned at Naruto. Yeah, Naruto, Kakashi-sensei said not to eat breakfast, said Sakura in her usual condescending voice. Naruto realized that whatever niceness Sakura had yesterday had vanished. Naruto ignored his team in favor of looking up into the sky. He was developing bags under his eyes. He hadn't slept properly since the horrible trek home. Their faces still haunted him, though after his long talk with Iruka, he felt slightly better, and calmer than ever before. Naruto watched as the sun beat down onto the open green field. The breeze was warm and caressed his skin. He brushed his hair slightly and pulled on the two horns slightly. Ah, I see you are all here, said Kakashi as he appeared in the middle of the team. Naruto just looked down from the sky and looked up at his sensei. You are late, said Naruto simply. Kakashi smiled and looked at his Jinan. Sorry, I got lost on the road of life, said Kakashi simply. His overly chipper voice made Naruto smirk. Sensei, you are supposed to be setting a good example, screamed Sakura. Naruto frowned at her and Sasuke just raised an eyebrow. He looked at Naruto and couldn't help but smile at the look on his face. Stop, Sasuke, he is the dead last, Sasuke thought to himself. He had been battling with himself all night. The fact that Naruto was the last of his clan seemed to hit home to Sasuke. He knew he had struck out at Naruto in hopes that he could cause someone in a similar situation to feel the same pain. But when he had simmered down, He realized, he should be friends with Naruto, and perhaps they could help each other. Sasuke would never admit it, but he wanted someone who he could sympathize with. "Now, what I want you to do is take these bells from me, you have until lunchtime," said Kakashi. Team 7 watched as Kakashi attached 2 bells to his belt. "But there are only 2, sensei," said Sakura. Kakashi smiled. "Then don't dawdle, because the one without a bell will be forced to return to the academy," said Kakashi. He watched as 2 of his students were frightened by the prospect, whilst the other just remained calm. "I have never heard of a 2-man Jonin cell, they are always 3 Jonin 1 Jonin," said Naruto simply. Kakashi smirked under his mask. "He's a sharp one," Kakashi thought. Sasuke and Sakura looked at Kakashi expectantly. Kakashi just smiled. "Go," he said. 2 Jonin disappeared in a blur, both dropping their chakra signature to a minimum. Kakashi sighed as Naruto stood there calmly, his spikes blowing in the wind slightly. "Teamwork, that's the test, isn't it?" said Naruto. Kakashi felt his shoulders drop and his eyes drooped slightly. "Can't you just let me have some fun?" said Kakashi childishly, though Naruto was still wary. "Maybe, but I need to test myself, and who better than my sensei, who can give me advice?" said Naruto. Kakashi smirked under his mask once more and pulled his orange book out of his top pocket. "Lesson 1, Taijutsu," said Kakashi. Naruto smirked, and in a blur he was gone. Kakashi stepped to the side. As Naruto appeared with a palm outstretched, the other was clawed at his side. Kakashi watched in awe as Naruto's palm seemed to shimmer slightly. Naruto spun quickly, his clawed hand coming around to try and grab Kakashi's Jonin vest. Kakashi slapped Naruto's wrist away with one hand, but quickly looked at his own hand. "It's like trying to hit concrete," Kakashi thought to himself. Naruto kept up his attack, his moves fluent. Kakashi realized Naruto's strength and the attacks were lessening, but that was all. Kakashi watched as Naruto jumped backwards slightly, his face blank of any thought. Naruto suddenly dropped his stance and moved into a different style, one Kakashi wasn't familiar with. He watched Naruto's hands shimmer blue slightly. "What style is that?" asked Kakashi, knowing he had never seen the style before. "My own," said Naruto simply before he blurred. Kakashi moved out of the way of the first strike, but before he had a chance to resume his book, Naruto was upon him again, and with a full duck to the side, Kakashi watched as the air rippled around Naruto's hand. Naruto in a fluid motion rolled onto his hands, and during a handstand he sent a couple of kicks at Kakashi. Kakashi had to quickly block with his one arm. Naruto fluidly flipped onto his feet, his back to Kakashi. Kakashi was about to move forward when Naruto spun with a deadly twirl and threw his palm forward. Kakashi attempted to push the palm away, but Naruto slipped through and just pushed lightly against his stomach. Kakashi slid backwards, his feet kicking up dirt. Naruto stood with his palm outwards, the other was out straight as well. "He's good," thought Kakashi. "This isn't the dead last," Sasuke thought as he watched Kakashi rub his stomach. "I thought Naruto was the weakest," Sakura thought to herself sadly. Kakashi looked at Naruto with a critical eye. He closed his book gently and placed it in his pocket. "Okay Naruto-kun, you wanna get serious?" said Kakashi before he blurred. Kakashi went to punch Naruto lightly, only for Naruto to expertly dodge it. Naruto rolled forward and spun on his hands and landed in a crouch. Kakashi watched as red vanished from Naruto's eyes and was replaced with silver. Kakashi moved quickly and Naruto found he was struggling to block Kakashi's onslaught. Naruto ducked under a punch, only to be kneed in the face. As his feet left the ground, Kakashi was on him once more in the air. Naruto blocked a kick, only for Kakashi to appear above him and slam his foot into his stomach. Naruto landed on his back with a harsh crack. Naruto kicked his legs up by his head and with an elegant spring he landed onto his feet. Kakashi smirked under his mask. "He's not too bad," thought Kakashi. He twirled a kunai in his hand and went for a downward slash. Sasuke and Sakura were both on the edges of their hiding places, fearing for Naruto's life. Kakashi watched as Naruto's hand suddenly blurred and then a force struck against his hand. He looked down and saw a chakra saber blocking his kunai. "This isn't just for show," said Naruto confidently. Kakashi smiled. "I would hope not," said Kakashi easily. Naruto and Kakashi continued to fight, neither gaining any ground for a while, but being used to long fights Kakashi was slowly gaining. Naruto flipped backwards and with the tiger seal covering his mouth, he expelled a line of blue fire. Kakashi moved backwards, the fire catching his arm. He winced slightly as the fire burned his arm. Naruto landed gracefully on the ground and his hand moved to the hilt of his tanto, and with a blur he sped forward. Kakashi was prepared for him to pull out the tanto, so Naruto quickly spun and struck out with his palm, his fist going straight through Kakashi, who exploded in a plume of smoke. Naruto felt a force strike him hard, once, twice. He was rocketed backwards, his back hitting a tree. Kakashi quickly pulled out 4 kunai and let them fly. Naruto felt the wire attached to the kunai wrap around the tree. Naruto stood against the tree with a calm look on his face. "You are very good, stronger than a Jonin, that is for sure, but I find it only fair that I hold out on you since you are holding out on me," said Kakashi. Naruto smirked slightly. Kakashi from his distance could see the smirk. "So maybe I am," said Naruto. He closed his eyes as Kakashi walked leisurely closer. Naruto opened his eyes and Kakashi found himself looking into 2 red swirls. Kakashi felt a pulse hit his body, and suddenly the landscape began to swirl and distort. Ocular Genjutsu, Naruto Uzumaki, "You are quite the surprise, aren't you?" thought Kakashi. He attempted to throw his hands into the ram seal. He said calmly, only for the landscape to no change at all. Dojutsu, impossible, thought Kakashi. His hand moved to his headband, and with a sigh he closed his onyx eye and focused with his Sharingan. The Genjutsu dispelled almost instantly, and Kakashi quickly covered his eye. He watched as a clone of Naruto cut him loose before dispelling. Naruto slid one eye closed as he collapsed to the floor, his hand landing on the floor to keep him upright. Naruto was breathing hard. He was littered with cuts, bruises. Kakashi looked at Naruto's open red eye. Kakashi didn't recognize the swirl pattern, but he sure as hell recognized the color. Kakashi was about to talk when suddenly a rain of kunai flew towards him. Sasuke appeared from the brush, his hands in the tiger seal. He sucked in a breath and expelled a giant fireball. Kakashi raised an eyebrow, and watched as Sakura grab Naruto before disappearing into the bushes once more. Kakashi dodged the fireball and looked at Sasuke, who was stood with a superior smirk on his face. "So Sasuke-kun, let's see how you do." "Lesson 2 ninjutsu," said Kakashi happily. "I am not weak like those two," said Sasuke confidently. Kakashi smiled. "I don't know if you noticed, but Naruto was able to sustain a fight for over an hour," said Kakashi, knowing this would push Sasuke's buttons. Sakura helped Naruto sit against a tree. He looked horrid. She noticed one of his eyes was closed, the other was not his silver, it was a blood-red swirl. How?" whispered Sakura. She raised a hand to his eye. Naruto caught her wrist with a hard hand. "Please don't tell anyone," said Naruto softly. Sakura nodded seriously. "Okay, Naruto," said Sakura. Naruto smiled slightly and blinked as Sasuke dropped down next to them. Naruto cancelled the chakra to his eyes as fast as he could. "He is on his way." "What now?" said Sasuke seriously. Naruto nodded and handed Sasuke and Sakura a kunai with a strange paper tag on the handle. "When he gets in the center of the clearing, throw it on the ground in a triangle shape." "Sasuke, I need you to throw these shuriken in a very specific place. You are the best thrower after all," said Naruto. Sasuke nodded seriously, a smirk threatening to slip onto his face. Naruto quickly drew their formation into the dirt. Sasuke nodded and grabbed the shuriken with black ink on them. Kakashi landed in the clearing and saw Naruto struggling to stand against a tree, a single kunai in his hand. "Where are the others, Naruto-kun? Though I could just beat them out of you," said Kakashi. Naruto smirked and dropped the kunai into the ground. Kakashi heard the whistle in the air and saw shuriken lodge themselves in the ground. Sasuke landed and then Sakura appeared. "Gotcha," said Sakura. Kakashi smirked at Sasuke. "Improve your aim a bit, Sasuke," said Kakashi. He heard Naruto snort. He turned and watched Naruto slam a palm into the ground and the other hand in a single ram seal. "Uzumaki style, eternal chakra trap," said Naruto. They watched as Kakashi shimmered before expelling in a cloud of smoke, and suddenly Kakashi found himself in the center of the seal. Kakashi felt his limbs lock and his body freeze. "How?" asked Kakashi. Naruto sat still, his hands not moving. "This is a special Uzumaki created seal. It basically grabs the chakra of whoever is in it, and no matter where they are, it transports them into this seal," said Naruto. Kakashi looked at the seal with awe. "But how did you get my chakra?" "My clone," said Kakashi. Naruto nodded. "Your clone is made of your chakra, though the seal destroyed it in the process. It was enough to track you and trap you," said Naruto. He nodded to Sakura and Sasuke, who both moved to the center and took a bell. Naruto smirked. "Why is it called Eternal Chakra Trap?" asked Kakashi. Naruto smiled slightly. "Here's the kicker, it's called eternal because as long as I am in this position your chakra is within my seal array. If a teammate were to take you away, all I would have to do is pulse the seal, and pop, here you are. And chakra trap because, well, it uses your chakra to trap you," said Naruto. Kakashi nodded seriously. "Okay Naruto, dispel the seal," said Kakashi. Naruto simply released the hand seal and removed his palm from the floor and tried to stand, only to fall to his knees. Kakashi watched as black ink lines began to pull away from each other and pull into the shuriken littered around. "So Kakashi-sensei, how did we all do?" asked Sakura. Kakashi looked at them all. Sasuke went to help Naruto to stand, while Sakura followed closely. "You all pass," said Kakashi. He smiled as his team all looked at each other with a smile. Sakura cheered and jumped slightly. "Thanks, sensei," said Naruto calmly. Kakashi moved forward and rubbed a hand in his spiky hair, the horns sticking up. "Well done, Naruto. He would be proud." "Everyone meet at the bridge in town at 7 tomorrow," said Kakashi before he pulled out his book and disappeared in a blur of leaves. "Well done, guys," said Naruto. Sasuke gave a small smile to Naruto. "Nice Fuinjutsu, by the way," whispered Sasuke. Naruto smiled lightly and Sakura just danced around them. "Geez, Naruto, why weren't you like this in the beginning?" asked Sakura. Naruto frowned slightly, his eyes turning icy. "Not that we dislike you, of course, she is just curious as to your changes," said Sasuke. Naruto sighed. "It's a tale for another day, guys. I don't completely trust you yet," said Naruto honestly. Sasuke nodded his head slightly and Sakura looked sorry. Naruto smiled slightly. "You guys want to come to mine for something to eat?" said Naruto. Both said yes, and as a team they moved out of the training grounds and towards Naruto's place. All of them felt that with this new Naruto around, things may be a lot better. The sun was high in the sky, the sound of children laughing echoed through the calm air. The calls of salesmen were mixed in the sound of shop bells dinging. Naruto and the rest of Team 7 walked down the high street. Naruto was leading the way with Sasuke in the center. Sakura was following Sasuke closely, trying to coax a conversation out of Sasuke, and Kakashi had a cat in his arm and his orange book in his other hand. Naruto's face was a picture of pure calm as he walked, his hands relaxed in his pockets, his spikes and horns blowing ever so gently in the breeze. His boots kicking up a little bit of dirt and dust, his silver eyes were looking at the sky. Every so often his head would look to see where he was going, but it spent most of the time looking at the clouds. He finally saw what Shikamaru was talking about. He felt calm and at ease. He could ignore the whispers about him, the blatant stares of fear. He knew most of the town suspected him of being the QB. His hair color and style seemed to cause many to instantly jump to that conclusion. Naruto tried not to find it funny. They were all scared of the QB, yet he knew he had the power to crush this village in an instant without the QB. Of course he knew, at his current level he would be destroyed in an instant. But his capabilities, if trained right, Naruto knew he would be able to protect those he cared about. Kakashi watched his team with a critical eye. Through the month they had been officially Team 7, he had watched the precarious balance of friendship fall into complete disarray. Sasuke had goaded Naruto into a small spar, in which Naruto had wiped the floor with Sasuke. Sakura had instantly snapped and belittled Naruto to extreme proportions. Sasuke had got up and stormed off, and from there, the communication dropped to a drastic nil. What bothered Kakashi most was Sasuke and Sakura seemed to have isolated Naruto, and the change in Naruto was worrying Kakashi. He had begun to silence himself. He never spoke unless spoken to around his team. And it was beginning to translate into his everyday life. Iruka had come to Kakashi. He had fretted like a mother hen. Kakashi could see Iruka was a healthy brother for Naruto. Iruka had told him Naruto had changed completely. He wasn't as expressive as before, and his face was always a mask of calm. Kakashi could also see the stress Naruto's first kill was having on him. He had dark bags under his eyes. In the mornings he was tense and irritable. Kakashi had yet to find the time to talk to Naruto, but he knew out of everyone in the group, Naruto was the only one who would be able to back him up in a fight. Sasuke had taken his loss harshly. He trained to exhaustion every night, and because of his overtraining, his skills were declining instead of improving. Kakashi instantly knew Naruto and Sasuke's work ethic were completely different. Naruto was much like his father and Kakashi himself. He was a natural. He worked hard, yes, but when it came down to it, he was able to process information at a super fast speed. Naruto was a genius. Sasuke was more in tune with others of his battle-excelling clan. Sasuke was only learning when he was in battle. He had improved slightly after his fight with Naruto. He was quick with his eyes, he knew where to look, and exploit an enemy's flaws. But it seems Sasuke had met his match with Naruto. The prodigy and the genius, both advancing to a point one has to stop growing. I hope for all of our sakes, they don't try to kill each other in the process, thought Kakashi. Sakura looked at Sasuke with a frown. He had become so cold. Ever since his loss against Naruto, he had become bitter. Throwing himself into his training to extreme measures, a couple of times a ninja had met them in the morning and informed them that Sasuke was in hospital from chakra exhaustion. Sakura had broken down, and when she had turned to see Naruto's reaction, he just stared at the sky, shaking his head. She was furious. He acted so superior. She had to admit he had beaten Sasuke fair and square, but to just flaunt it in Sasuke's face by not even acknowledging him. It made Sakura's blood boil. Sakura had then put all of her efforts into proving to Sasuke that she cared about him. "Kakashi-sensei, what are we doing after this?" asked Naruto softly. Kakashi looked up from his book and I smiled. "You will see soon," said Kakashi. Naruto rolled his eyes and smiled slightly. "Kakashi, I want a harder mission," said Sasuke bluntly. Kakashi sighed and tried to not roll his eyes. "We will see, Sasu-san," said Kakashi. Team 7 turned the corner heading to the mission's office. They were met with a strange sight. Villagers and some ninja were stood blocking their path, and Naruto raised an eyebrow. Never before had they been this direct, especially in front of others. "Hatake-san, Uche-kun, Haruno-san, please leave us, we have to have a small chat with the damn Uzumaki brat," said one of the ninja. Sasuke and Sakura shrugged and started to walk off, both thinking perhaps Naruto had pranked someone again. Kakashi stood with a set jaw. "Anything you can say to my student, you can say to me," said Kakashi simply. Naruto blinked slightly at Kakashi's defense, but his calm face not revealing any emotion. "Do they know what he has said?" one of the villagers. Sasuke turned slightly and watched as Naruto smirked slightly. "What do they mean? What is Naruto?" thought Sasuke. He scowled and turned and walked with Sakura, who too had a confused face. "And what, pray tell, is he?" asked Kakashi. The villagers sneered. "Come now, Kakashi, Naruto Uzumaki had blonde hair, blue eyes. This thing has blood-red hair, and silver eyes. The change is too similar," said the old villager. Naruto smirked and shook his head slightly, but other than that there was no way to tell his emotions. "Morons," Naruto chuckled. Everyone's eyes snapped to him. He looked at them all with an uncaring eye. "You dare?" But Naruto cut them off with a simple raised hand. "I have had enough, please. If I was the so-called demon you all fear, I would have killed you all by now," said Naruto simply, before he turned and walked off. One of the villagers yelled in fury and burst through the throng of people. He held a large butcher's knife in his hands. Kakashi was about to move when he watched as Naruto simply spun and with the back of his hand, knocked the blade out of the man's hand. The man stumbled backwards looking down at Naruto. Naruto simply shook his head and followed his two teammates towards the mission's office. "Isn't it time to open your eyes? If he was what you fear, he would have just killed you," said Kakashi. He watched as a select few nodded whilst others just glared and walked off. Kakashi followed his Jinan shortly after. As they moved through the mission's building, Sasuke turned and looked directly at Naruto. "What did they mean?" asked Sasuke bluntly. Naruto sighed and shook his head as he walked past. "It's classified," said Naruto simply. Sasuke turned his head to Kakashi, who was simply nodding. "Fine," snarled Sasuke as he turned around and burst through the double doors. Sarutobi looked up from his reading as Team 7 burst through the door. Sasuke had a glare settled on his face. Sakura was throwing Naruto a glare and Naruto just ran a hand through his hair, an emotionless expression on his face. Sarutobi couldn't help the smile that slid onto his face. Naruto was taking a lot of lessons from Kakashi. Unconsciously, according to Iruka, Naruto had begun to seem lazy and pulled the funniest expressions, similar to that of Kakashi. But on the flip side, he had started to lose emotion. The bags beneath his eyes were clear. Sarutobi worried. "Team 7, how delightful, and another completed mission. I must say, your completion level is among the highest we have ever had. You are soon to be rivaling the Sennin," said Sarutobi politely. Sasuke snorted slightly. "Yeah, on these ridiculous drank errands," snarled Sasuke. Sarutobi gave a blink at the audacity. The Chunin in the room just stared at Sasuke in disbelief. "Learn some respect," said Naruto calmly. He bowed slightly to the Hokage, dragging Sasuke down with him. "I am sorry for my teammates' disrespect, Hokage-sama," said Naruto calmly. Sarutobi had to admit, Naruto's new personality suited his whole atmosphere. He still had bouts of excitement, but this calm, cool and collected Naruto was much more preferable. Though of course, Sarutobi loved Naruto no matter what, even if there was some resentment on Naruto's end. "No worries, Naruto-kun," said Sarutobi, as kindly as possible. He repressed a slight shiver as Naruto's eyes passed over him. "Mission accomplished. Bring in the client," said a nameless Chunin. Team 7 watched as a large woman ran through the door with an ear-piercing wail. She ran towards the team, tears falling down her face. She stole the cat from Kakashi without a second glance to the team, and she began hugging her cat in a death grip. Naruto felt a smirk fall onto his face. "If you would stop trying to kill the cat every time you get the damn thing, perhaps it might not run off and become the bane of every ninja that's ever been a Jinan," said Naruto calmly. I don't feel I'm getting this right. Basically I want Naruto to be like Byakuya Kuchiki from Bleach. I think Byakuya's personality would fit my Naruto better than any other, because I want Naruto to have that attitude where he would kill because they are a threat, not cry because the enemy is mildly like him. Negation, sorry. So from now on, That's what Naruto's personality is like, so I don't have to keep on reiterating the fact. The woman turned and with a glare she looked Naruto up and down. "What are you wearing, little boy? Those clothes are ancient, the style is so years ago," said the woman. Naruto looked down at his clothes and realized she was probably right, but he didn't care too much. "I like them, they look good," said Naruto. The woman sneered. "What's your name, little boy?" said the woman. Naruto just looked at her lazily. "Naruto Uzumaki," he said simply. He watched and inwardly smiled. Her eyes widened briefly with fear, her grip on the cat tightened. The cat stopped squirming from the pressure. "D-demo. Hiruzen, how dare thi? This thing touch my baby," screeched the woman. She turned and glared at Naruto, who just stood there calmly, her words not affecting him at all. "I believe he was the one who managed to find your cat in record time. I'm sure next time, I could get someone else to do it, but none are as fast as Team 7, said Sarutobi simply. The woman huffed and leveled Naruto with a glare once more. She huffed and turned around, slamming a purse of money onto the table. She left the room. Sasuke and Sakura both looked at Naruto, who just turned to look at them with a raised eyebrow. "Is something on my face?" he asked calmly. Sasuke and Sakura fought not to face slam into the floor. Kakashi smiled proudly. Sarutobi just smiled and shook his head. "Another mission please, Hokage-sama?" asked Kakashi, his eyes looking up from his book. "Okay, there is dog walking for the Inuzuka clan, or there is watering flowers for the Yamanakas," said Sarutobi. Sasuke clicked his teeth together. "Give us something harder," said Sasuke simply. The chunin around the room just scowled. Sarutobi took a puff of his pipe and looked levelly at Sasuke. "You are not the one to request, it's supposed to be your sensei when he feels you are ready," said Sarutobi simply. Sasuke scowled and looked up at Kakashi, who was reading his book. Sorry, what was that? Was my student being disrespectful again?" asked Kakashi. Sarutobi smiled slightly. "Uchiha-kun here was requesting a higher class mission," said the old Hokage. Kakashi closed his book with a sigh. "I suppose they are ready. They have completed over the set amount of dragged missions," said Kakashi. Sarutobi nodded but frowned slightly. "What do other members of the team feel?" "Sakura-kun, your thoughts?" said Sarutobi. Sakura looked at her team, the calm, almost uncaring look of Naruto. He clearly didn't care and would just go along with whatever. Sasuke was glaring daggers at her, and Kakashi had a similar look to Naruto. I would like a harder mission," said Sakura. Sarutobi nodded and looked at Naruto. "And you, Naruto-kun?" asked the Hokage. Naruto just simply raised an eyebrow. "Don't really care. I feel our teamwork isn't up to scratch to go on any other mission than drank, and my teammates seem to hate doing a service to our community, so I would rather not rock the boat anymore and just whatever," said Naruto as he shrugged. The chunin around the room seemed to remember a similar personality to Naruto's. Itachi Uchiha flashed through all of their minds, coupled with the strange fear surrounding Naruto Uzumaki as a person. They all worried for a second coming of another dangerous enemy. Naruto simply went back to staring out of the window. Sarutobi was having similar thoughts, but his were placated. "He acts so much like Minato-kun, it's scary. He doesn't realize how alike they are. People recorded Minato as a soft, kind man, but he too had that calm atmosphere about him," thought Sarutobi. Kakashi was thinking the same, though he was secretly happy he was influencing Naruto slightly. "He acts like a more serious Minato-sensei, but I'm glad he is like me slightly. Clearly someone thinks him cool," thought Kakashi with humor. The chunin next to the Hokage rifled through the massive piles of paperwork. "Damn it, this is Iruka's job," grumbled a chunin. Naruto looked at the Hokage. "Why isn't Iruka working?" asked Naruto simply. Sarutobi blew out a plume of smoke. "He isn't allowed to give out missions to his siblings," said Sarutobi simply. Naruto nodded seriously. "Here is one, a crank to Nami no Kuni, escorting a bridge builder," said the chunin. Naruto raised an eyebrow slightly. "A crank for an escort? Why didn't he just walk back on his own? What would a bridge builder need protection from?" asked Naruto. Kakashi then raised an eyebrow. Perceptive, both Kakashi and Sarutobi thought. Naruto noticed their looks. "Gramps taught me to always, no matter what, look at the simplest of things and think deeper. Look underneath the underneath," said Naruto simply. Kakashi remembered his sensei telling him that in the exact same way. Why would the Hokage tell him that, thought Kakashi. He looked at the Hokage and realized the Hokage was shaking his head at him. Kakashi nodded and looked at Naruto. "Indeed, but the bridge builder is important to his town. He wants protection from bandits," said the chunin. Naruto shrugged and put his hands in his pockets. "Does that satisfy you, Sasuke-kun?" asked Sarutobi, though the threat hidden in his voice was clear to all. "Hi, Hokage-sama," said Sasuke through clenched teeth. Naruto was tempted to pull his blade and teach him a lesson, but he lamented, not wanting to cause a stir. "Okay, "Send in the client," said the Chunin. Naruto turned his head slightly and watched as a large drunken man stumbled against the doorway. The smell of alcohol floated through the air. The bottle of sake in his hand tipped slightly, spilling onto the floor. He was wearing a pair of cream-colored pants, a sleeveless V-neck shirt with an obi, and a pair of sandals, a pointed hat placed on his back. He hiccuped slightly and looked at the team. "This is the team that's going to protect me, the great bridge builder," Tazuna said drunkenly. Naruto felt his eyes close slightly, showing his displeasure. "Yes, this is Team 7, they are fresh out of the academy and are eager to." But the Hokage was cut off by Tazuna. "These just out-of-school brats are going to be looking after me. The one with red hair looks like a complete idiot. I mean, does he even smile?" asked Tazuna. Sasuke smirked at Naruto only to freeze slightly. Naruto had deliberately put a menacing smile on. Some unwanted but appreciated advice from the Kyuubi. "Oh, I smile. Next time it will be to cut your head off," said Naruto simply. The fake smile dropped off of his face, his eyes glaring at Tazuna. "Now show some respect for the leader of this village," said Naruto calmly. Tazuna gulped and nodded and bowed dramatically, almost toppling over. "Sorry Hokage-sama," stumbled Tazuna. Sarutobi raised a hand and smiled. "It's quite all right, you are with Kakashi Hitake, one of Leaf's strongest jonin," said Sarutobi. Tazuna looked at Kakashi, who was regarding him with a bored look. "Yo," said Kakashi simply with a raised hand. Kakashi looked at his team. "Meet at the gate in 15 minutes," said Kakashi as he walked towards Tazuna. Said man looked at Naruto fearfully before he quickly turned around. "Good luck," said Sarutobi. Naruto raised a hand and walked out of the room, Sasuke and Sakura following slowly behind. Naruto walked through the house door to see Anko sat on the arm of the chair, her trench coat long forgotten and was draping on the stairs. Naruto heard a stammered reply from Iruka. "You.m.Anko. Naruto could be here soon," stammered Iruka. Anko smirked slightly. "Come on, Iruka-kun, the brat probably wouldn't care if he saw you naked," said Anko with a devilish smirk. Naruto rounded the corner and saw a topless Iruka wearing his sleeping bottoms, sat on the sofa as far away from Anko as he could. "Come now, Niazan, you know Anko really likes you," said Naruto. Both whipped their heads to him and noticed his calm, almost emotionless face. Anko walked towards him and walked around him. "You've changed, brat. Where is the cheerful, happy-go-lucky boy that I met at the place?" asked Anko. Naruto regarded her with a bored stare. "He didn't make it back, although I've been told this manner suits me," said Naruto. Anko frowned slightly. "You are like Kakashi, do I have to beat him into lightening up?" said Anko. Naruto shrugged and ignored her. He spoke directly to Iruka. "I am going on a crank mission to Nami no Kuni Niasen. Wish me luck," said Naruto bluntly. Iruka stood up rapidly, looking at Naruto with wide eyes. "Already, you're not ready," said Iruka. Naruto sighed in exasperation. He had been expecting this reaction. His eyes closed slightly, completing his bored look. "Don't bother, Niasen. We already accepted the mission, don't worry, what could go wrong?" said Naruto. He moved to the kitchen, rummaging the cupboards for things to take. Socks 2 socks. Naruto frowned slightly, the wrinkles marring the perfect skin of his forehead, though it was only partly visible. His fringe spiked to the left slightly, his two horns stood proudly on his head. His hair had grown slightly, now falling gracefully down his neck. He knew he would have to cut it soon. He walked towards the main gate of Konoha, his storage scroll hidden within one of the pockets of his new black trench coat. Anko and Ibiki had got it as a graduation present. There were no pockets on the outside, there were only 4 large pockets on the inside. 2 of the 4 were made to specifically hold small scrolls, the other 2 were for kunai. He loved his new coat, though practically it got in the way of his tanto. But he didn't care. The way it blew in the breeze, it made him feel like he was floating. His boots kicked up dirt and dust as he walked. He saw his team waiting impatiently for him. "Took you long enough, idiot," yelled Sakura. Sasuke just glared at him. "Sorry, I got lost on the road of life," deadpan Naruto. He heard Kakashi's laugh, coming from someone who showed little to no emotion, and being so deadpan, Kakashi smiled fondly at Naruto. "I am trying, sensei," thought Kakashi, and wordlessly they all left the gates of Konoha, on their first crank mission together. The walk was quiet, the birds were chirping in the midday air, they flitted across the sky seemingly ignorant to the goings-on in the world. Naruto looked down and watched as Tazuna tried to make conversation with Kakashi, only to be snubbed and hushed because Kakashi was reading. Sasuke was just glaring at everything he was looking at. Sakura just eyed Sasuke with hearts in her eyes. Naruto reached into his pocket and pulled out a kunai. He began tossing it up and down as he walked. Kakashi moved silently next to Naruto, who regarded him with a raised eyebrow. "I need to know if you can kill when the time calls for it," said Kakashi. Naruto raised an eyebrow further. "It's a crank sensei," said Naruto. Kakashi then raised an eyebrow, to which Naruto deflated and looked ahead. "Naruto, I need to know," pushed Kakashi. Naruto shrugged. "I will not let my comrades die," said Naruto, but even then the faces of his previous kill flashed before his eyes. Kakashi patted Naruto on the head. "Just be ready," said Kakashi. Naruto nodded and returned to throwing his kunai up and down. "Where did you get the coat from, idiot?" asked Sakura. Naruto just looked at her, emotionless. "My other sensei," said Naruto simply. He just returned to staring ahead. Sakura just couldn't wrap her head around this new Naruto. When he returned all red-haired and clearly stronger, he still showed his emotions, but as the 2 months they had been together passed, he had just slowly started changing. He was more like Kakashi than his old smiling self. Sasuke couldn't stand it. He knew he would have to say something soon. He was too much like him. The way he spoke, the way he walked, down to the way he treated others. Sasuke knew that if Naruto was to poke him on the forehead, just once, Sasuke would lose it. Tazuna eyed the redhead briefly. The boy looked like nothing special. He was the tallest out of the 3 kids, he had a sword and looked badass for a kid, especially with the coat on. But it was his commanding presence, his silent yet loud warnings that he would kill if you stepped out of line. But there was also care behind his eyes, which many would overlook. Tazuna knew the boy could be trusted. They continued to walk for an hour, when Naruto suddenly felt 2 chakra signatures. Judging from the relaxed shoulders of his teammates, they hadn't noticed. But Kakashi gave him a brief nod. Naruto nodded slightly back, and continued to act as if nothing was wrong, but he had stopped his kunai throwing, holding it delicately in his fingers. "Brat, I realized why your emotions are so muted. Would you believe this is how you are supposed to be? I've never met a human with such muted emotions in my life," said the Kyuubi mentally. Naruto frowned slightly but focused his attention back to the mission. "Be quiet a minute, I need to focus," thought Naruto, but the Kyuubi just snorted. "Let me finish, brat, you can focus on both. Anyway, I wondered why you seem to be so emotionally different. But it's just that your body is programmed to feel less severe emotions, though I would want your anger, what with me being here and all," said the Kyuubi with humor. Naruto rolled his eyes. "Lovely, so this helps me how?" asked Naruto, only to wince as a deafening roar sounded in his mind. "I don't know, I thought it was interesting, I have to amuse myself somehow," roared Kyuubi. Naruto winced slightly, the fox then went silent. Naruto noticed Kakashi looking at him expectantly. Naruto blinked and nodded slightly. As they moved past the puddle, Naruto felt the hum of chakra beneath the weak genjutsu. Naruto looked to his teammates to see if they actually noticed, but both were in their own little world. Tazuna watched as Kakashi moved to stand next to Naruto. Both gave a flick of their eyes and a small nod. Naruto moved forward slight, a kunai clenched in his hands. Tazuna frowned as Naruto's eyes kept darting around, searching. There was a whoosh of air and all the team turned as a chain wrapped around Kakashi. "One down," said one of the masked men. Kakashi's eye was wide as the chain tore through him, his body splitting into tiny pieces. Sakura gave a scream, whilst Naruto watched as the 2 enemies looked straight at Tazuna. They charged with speed. Naruto was ready to act when suddenly Sasuke landed on both of their heads. A kunai prepared in his hand, he threw it through one of the loops of the chain. He looked at Naruto with a superior smirk. "Idiot, that's how it's done," froze there, said Sasuke. He blinked slightly as the chain dropped to the floor. The 2 enemies split up and both ran around preparing to strike at Tazuna from both sides. Naruto quickly moved, his tanto prepared in his hand, his coat blew still as he blocked one of the claws on the metal gauntlets. Sasuke was on Tazuna's other side. Naruto locked eyes with the enemy on his side, and the man felt his world seem to shift. He felt sick, the world began to spin upside down. He watched in fear as his foot seemed to leave the ground. He looked down into the sky in fear. His other foot left the ground and with a yell he fell. The sun was becoming hotter and hotter as he fell through the sky. And with a final yell the sun devoured him. Tazuna and Sakura watched in awe as the man attacking Naruto seemed to just collapse. His eyes were glazed over. Sasuke pushed his enemy back. The enemy eyed its partner and ran toward Naruto with a yell. Naruto calmly held his blade point forward and prepared to attack. As he moved forward inches from the kill, the voices of his past kill screamed through his head. His blade wavered, the enemy was in front of him, a claw swiping down menacingly. Naruto couldn't stop himself from shaking. The pain he expected to feel didn't appear. Sasuke was stood in front of him, a kunai blocking the gauntlet, but the claws were dug into his arm. Sasuke winced as a burning sensation moved through his arm. Naruto went to move, only to have Kakashi wrap a hand around the enemy's throat and snap it almost instantly. The claw fell out of Sasuke's arm as Kakashi threw the enemy away. Sasuke cried out in pain as he collapsed, holding his arm in pain. Sakura cried out and ran towards Sasuke, leaving Tazuna stood alone. Naruto stood with wide eyes, the sword still shaking in his hand. Kakashi caught Sasuke as he collapsed to the floor. Naruto just stood shaking. Naruto snapped Kakashi. Naruto's eyes snapped to Kakashi almost instantly. Hi-sensei asked Naruto shakily. Kakashi glared at him slightly. Do you know any medical ninjutsu? Kakashi asked simply. Naruto shook his head. Sensei, why is Sasuke-kun like this? It was just a grab, whimpered Sakura. Naruto felt his irritation flare, but was quickly silenced. The claws were poisoned, said Kakashi. He looked at Naruto with a stare. Naruto slid his tando home and moved around Sakura and looked at Sasuke's ashen face. Is he going to be okay? Asked Naruto calmly. Kakashi just glared at him quickly. I don't know, this poison seems fast-acting. Sakura, you have the best control, and you can afford to expend chakra. I am going to show you a medical jutsu, a simple one. But it should stop the flow of poison for now, said Kakashi. He began to show Sakura the hand seals. Naruto turned and walked to the dead body. He looked down at the gauntlet and the purple poison dripping off the end. Naruto growled slightly and pulled out a sealing scroll from his pocket. Quickly unsealing a glass bottle full of black ink, Naruto quickly tipped it away. Tazuna came and stood next to Naruto. What are you doing, kid? Asked Tazuna. Naruto leveled him with a calm stare. A sample of the poison, so I can get the correct antidote from the hospital, said Naruto simply. Tazuna frowned slightly. He watched as the glass bottle filled halfway with the poison. Kid, Konoha is hours away, you'll never make it, said Tazuna. Naruto frowned slightly but seemingly ignored him. Naruto sealed the bottle and put the scroll back inside his coat. Naruto quickly moved to the tree line. Kakashi quickly followed after Sakura had got the jutsu right almost instantly. Where do you think you're going? Asked Kakashi. Naruto turned his head slightly and looked at Kakashi. Konoha, to get the antidote, said Naruto simply. Kakashi glared. You are not fast enough, even I would struggle to get there today, said Kakashi. Naruto just shook his head. I'll be back before you know it, said Naruto. Kakashi went to grab Naruto, but Naruto did a small leap and was gone in a small flicker of yellow lightning. I don't believe it, stuttered Kakashi. Ox 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 2 ox 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 ox. Naruto landed lightly on a branch, only to disappear once more. He could feel the wind briefly whip him harshly as it caught up with how fast he was moving. Every time he appeared in a show of lightning, a small rumble would echo through the air. Naruto loved teleporting. The thought of bending time and space as he moved made Naruto feel powerful. The two Chunin on guard at the gates of Konoha were lazing around when a rumble caught their ears. They looked up as a person jumped from the top of the gate. Naruto ignored the cries of the guards and landed lightly on the roof of the building nearest the gate. With a quick sigh he disappeared in a blur, moving rooftop to rooftop as fast as possible. To those ninja watching, it looked like his feet barely touched the ground. Naruto's coat flapped behind him wildly as he dashed through the village. He landed gracefully outside the hospital and rubbed a hand through his hair, to dispel the look of extreme speed that had met it. He ignored the blatant stares and walked to the receptionist. Can I help? What do you want? Asked the woman bitterly. Naruto put the glass bottle on the desk. Sasuke Uchiha has been hit with this poison. I want the antidote, said Naruto simply. The woman behind the desk sneered. And why didn't you bring him here? She asked as she looked Naruto dead in the eye. Naruto sighed and quickly flashed his Rinnegan, a genjutsu thrown almost instantly. The woman nodded and grabbed the glass bottle in a daze. You shouldn't do that, came a feminine voice behind him. Naruto turned with one eye closed. Using two genjutsu in quick succession was dangerous. He was still unskilled in them. Naruto turned to see a woman with deep red eyes looking at him. Her outfit consisted of a red mesh armor blouse with only the right sleeve visible. Over this is very broad material which resembled bandages with a pattern on it similar to those of rose thorns. Naruto looked at her with a bored stare. Yes, well, I don't see her actually being helpful to me, especially when I interrupted her own nail polishing ritual, said Naruto in a bored tone. Kurenai smiled slightly. Indeed. Now aren't your team hours away, heading towards Nami? Asked Kurenai. Yeah, I had to come back to get the antidote, said Naruto. Kurenai raised an eyebrow. But how could you get here so quickly, and hardly out of breath? Asked Kurenai. Naruto opened his eyes, revealing a bloodshot silver. His Rinnegan had faded thankfully. A lot of skill, said Naruto simply. He turned as the receptionist came out in a daze, a green liquid in a glass jar. It was a relatively simple poison, So we had lots of the antidote made already, 2 drops on the wound every 4 hours for 3 days. Thanks for visiting Kakashi-san. I hope Sasuke-kun gets better soon, said the nurse/receptionist. Naruto smiled at her slightly and walked off with the new liquid bottle. Kakashi? How strong was that Genjutsu? Asked Kurenai as she followed him outside. Naruto just gave a bored shrug, causing Kurenai to smile once more. So are you following me to the gate, or actually coming on the mission with me? Asked Naruto simply. Kurenai looked startled. Why would you say that? Asked Kurenai. A smile tweaked the corner of Naruto's mouth. The Chunin guards found you whilst they were following me, and asked you to keep an eye on the intruder, said Naruto, slight amusement coloring his tone. Kurenai just smirked. Hi, I am supposed to make sure you weren't an intruder, but now I am making sure you are taking that antidote where it's supposed to go. I don't believe you made it from hours away, said Kurenai. Naruto shrugged. Try to keep up, he said before he blurred. He landed gracefully on the roof. Kurenai smirked as she blurred also and landed next to him. Both dashed off. Kurenai was surprised. She actually had to try and keep up, whilst Naruto appeared to be leisurely running, his hands in his pockets. As they made it to the roof before the gate, Kurenai stopped as Naruto blurred onto the gate. He turned and gave her a salute before he disappeared in a show of yellow lightning. A short boom sounded as he left. Amazing kid, isn't he? Said Asuma. Kurenai gasped and spun, noticing Asuma and his team. Came to find out who the intruder was? Asked Kurenai. Asuma shook his head. Saw you running with the brat and wondered why he was here, said Asuma simply. Shikamaru, Choji and Ino all looked to where Naruto had disappeared to. Each had a frown on their face. Ox 2 ox. Naruto landed in the ring of trees with a graceful landing, his feet touching the grass lightly. His hair was all slicked back from the speeding through Konoha. 2 jumps to get back anew. But Naruto was cut off as a hand wrapped around his throat. His back hit the tree with a loud thump. Naruto looked wide-eyed into Kakashi's single glaring eye. I need to know now, if I should turn this team around and hand in your registration, banning you from being a liability, asked Kakashi with a growl. Naruto felt his body shiver at the harsh tone Kakashi used. Sorry sensei, I just couldn't do it, whispered Naruto. Kakashi's single glare lessened. Naruto, my sensei, your father told me after I had taken my first kill that, when you eat chicken or beef, do you cry for the animal, or do you pray to Kami thanking them for the food? The life of a ninja is not an easy one, but we have to take lives. But not for ourselves, but for those we are protecting by taking that life. But never lose the feeling, the guilt, it is what keeps you human. If you lose that, you lose your humanity, Kakashi said. Emotions crackled in his voice, pain of losing a sensei, a family, a surrogate father. Sensei, whispered Naruto. Kakashi smiled slightly. If I remember correctly, your father had me in this position when he gave me the speech. Naruto, you are an amazing ninja, don't let your first kill become your weakness. You are stronger than the pain, said Kakashi. Naruto nodded slightly. The words of his father given to him from Kakashi echoed through his head. Naruto pulled out the bottle of antidote and handed it to Kakashi. Kakashi smiled slightly and put Naruto down on the floor. Naruto was surprised when Kakashi pulled him into a hug. I'm glad I have a part of sensei with me, Naruto, you are so much like him, but you are also distinctly you. Don't ever change, said Kakashi. Naruto smiled slightly and patted Kakashi's back. Sensei, Sasuke needs the antidote, 2 drops, every 4 hours, 3 days, said Naruto simply. Kakashi was surprised as he walked through the clearing. Sakura's hands still had the faint blue glow, and her face was still scrunched in concentration. Sakura, you are a natural, perhaps you should consider becoming a medic nin, said Kakashi. Sakura beamed with pride. Thanks sensei, said Sakura happily. Naruto followed through the tree line and moved past Hazuna. He grabbed the limp body of the hypnotized enemy and contemplated tying him to a tree. Sensei, may I interrogate the enemy, asked Naruto. Kakashi looked up to see a sadistic smirk on Naruto's lips. Sure Naruto, but don't make too much noise, said Kakashi. He repressed a shiver as Naruto untied the victim and pulled them into the woods. Damn it, trust Anko and Ibiki to teach him interrogation tactics, thought Kakashi. Sakura watched as Sasuke hissed as the green drops hit his skin. Do you think I would be a good medic nin, asked Sakura. The thought of healing Sasuke whenever he needed it appealed her. One of the best, if you have your priorities right, said Kakashi. The sounds of a man's brief scream echoed to them. Kakashi and Sakura shivered slightly, whilst Hazuna looked pale. Kakashi watched as Naruto tossed and turned in his sleep, a light sheen of sweat on his forehead. Kakashi looked at Naruto sadly, knowing he couldn't help with the nightmares, knowing that they were a bane that all shinobi experienced. Sakura slept near Sasuke. Fear of him magically dying in the night had gripped Sakura. Tazuna sat looking at the fire, unable to sleep. "You shouldn't have lied, Tazuna-san," said Kakashi. Tazuna winced slightly. Naruto had walked back into the clearing, a cold look directed Tazuna. Naruto had then explained how Tazuna had lied to them all from the beginning. Tazuna had yet to give the full story, but Naruto had explained enough. "I know, but my country couldn't afford a higher mission," said Tazuna. He was about to continue when suddenly Naruto sat bolt up, his eyes open wide, his breath coming in pants. He turned his head and looked at Kakashi and Tazuna with a cold look, before his eyes softened. Kakashi watched as the red swirls faded from Naruto's eyes. "Nightmares?" Naruto-kun asked Kakashi quietly into the early morning air. Naruto nodded and removed himself from his sleeping bag. Kakashi smirked slightly at the topless Naruto. Sakura had thrown a fit when Naruto had suddenly taken off his shirt when he went to sleep. Sakura has blushed and stammered, causing Naruto to raise an eyebrow. Naruto now quickly grabbed his t-shirt and zipped it up, flipping the collar up this time. Naruto then grabbed his boots and socks and pulled them on. As he stood he gave a stretch, letting his joints pop. Kakashi went back to reading whilst Tazuna stared at the early morning sky. Naruto had finished putting on his tanto and had finally pulled on his black coat. "Couldn't sleep, Tazuna-san?" asked Naruto, his tone borderline uncaring. Tazuna smiled at Naruto slightly. "No, worried about my family and my town. We are so poor," said Tazuna, but he was cut off by Naruto. "The worst two people to be begging to, Tazuna-san," said Naruto simply. Tazuna felt a sweat drop fall down his face. Sorry," said Tazuna. Naruto raised a hand. "Don't worry, Kakashi-sensei, there was a river close by, I shall go fill up our water holders," said Naruto simply. Kakashi raised a hand and Naruto disappeared in blur. "Are all your ninja trained to be so heartless?" said Tazuna. Kakashi shook his head. Naruto never used to be like that. He used to be hyperactive, loud, and expressive, an all-around idiot. But he was met with a lot of hard truths, hard training and a hard life to boot. It took its toll, I'm afraid. He is still expressive in his own way, but it's more muted. And I think even he likes the change in him, which is why he is so reluctant to go back to the way he was," said Kakashi. Tazuna blinked as he looked at Naruto's now clean sleep space. "Such a hard life for a kid," said Tazuna. Kakashi nodded and was about to answer when Sasuke gave a groan. "Ah, good morning, sleeping beauty. How are you feeling?" said Kakashi, in his usual mocking tone. "Like I have been beaten up by a cage," said Sasuke. Kakashi chuckled. "You were poisoned when the claws dug in. Naruto had to retrieve the antidote for you, otherwise you would have died," said Kakashi. Sasuke snorted, though the action gave him a headache. "So he should. I almost died because of him," said Sasuke. Kakashi was about to answer once more, when Naruto suddenly butted in. "And now I saved your life, debt repaid, jackass," said Naruto in his calm tone. Tazuna smirked and Kakashi chuckled. Team 7 and Tazuna all began walking towards the calm forest. They had just got off of the boat and were now relaxing due to the fact they were close to their destination. Naruto was trying to get the Kyuubi to talk, but the beast was being stubborn. Naruto was also playing around with his chakra, sending small parts out in a pulse to see if he could sense things around him. So far he had been unsuccessful, but that was until Naruto sensed a large chakra signature moving directly towards them. Behind this large chakra was a smaller chakra. Naruto felt his Rinnegan activate almost instantly, and then Naruto gasped as he felt like he was flying. Trees and plants and bugs all moved past his vision at high speed, but each in extremely high definition, cataloging everything he saw. "Ga Sasuke-kun, you almost killed this rabbit," squealed Sakura. Naruto ignored them in favor of watching a man and a younger person moving towards them at high speeds. "Sensei," muttered Naruto. He watched as the man threw an oversized blade towards them. Kakashi heard Naruto muttering, "What, Naruto?" But Kakashi then felt the large chakra signature. His eyes darted to the large white rabbit. Substitution, he thought. They heard the noise of the air being cut, and Kakashi saw the large blade moving towards them. Naruto seemed to duck before he even said, "Duck," yelled Naruto as he fell to the floor. Sasuke was pulled by his good arm by Sakura, whilst Kakashi grabbed Tazuna. They watched as a large blade slammed into a tree, and shortly after a man appeared stood on it. Kakashi looked at Naruto briefly. He saw that coming a mile away. He has some sensing abilities. Interesting, thought Kakashi. Naruto looked at the man stood on the blade with a critical eye. He's fast, easily Jonin level, his chakra is huge, and the amount of seal arrays on that sword indicate he can shine to it at any time. Naruto thought as he eyed the glowing seals and alchemic circles on the blade. "Copy Nin Kakashi, "This is my lucky day," said the man in deep voice. The mocking tone set the team on edge. "And you're Zabuza Momochi, demon of the hidden mist," said Kakashi in a lazy tone. Zabuza looked down upon Kakashi and the young team guarding Tezna. He eyed Naruto closely. "I don't believe it, a real life, living and breathing Uzumaki," said Zabuza. Everyone but Kakashi's eyes moved to Naruto, who stood looking at Zabuza with a lazy look. "How can you tell?" asked Naruto lazily. Sasuke and Kakashi both broke into a smirk, whilst Sakura looked at him incredulously. Zabuza gave a loud boisterous laugh. "It's your hair, kid, no color like it." "Like thick blood," said Zabuza, his tone turning almost reverent. Naruto simply raised an eyebrow. "Zabuza Momochi, what are you here for?" asked Kakashi. He didn't like the murderous way Zabuza was eyeing Naruto. "I am here to kill the old man," said Zabuza. He glared at Tezuna and Team 7 felt Zabuza's killing intent rock them to the core. Tezuna gave a whimper, whilst Sakura got teary-eyed. Sasuke shook and looked at Naruto. Naruto simply stood with his hands in his pockets, his eyes squinted slightly, and Sasuke could see the tension in Naruto's jaw. "What killing intent?" thought Naruto. He felt the hum in the connection from the Kyuubi. "You want to see some real killing intent, brat?" said the Kyuubi. Before Naruto could question, he felt his anger rise. It spiked slightly and then Team 7, and Zabuza felt an extremely potent killing intent flood the field. Tezuna dropped to his knees. Sasuke looked at Naruto with open fear, and Sakura was glassy-eyed, her mouth parted slightly. Stop it," thought Naruto harshly. Kyuubi stopped almost instantly. "Q?" questioned Kyuubi. Naruto just shrugged mentally. "Yeah, you are probably my closest friend," said Naruto honestly. The Kyuubi seemed to just fall into silence. Zabuza laughed loudly. "Oh Kakashi, didn't you just get the cream of the crop? An Uzumaki and the last Uchiha if I'm not mistaken. Or the last loyal one anyway," said Zabuza. Sasuke glared at Zabuza. He briefly realized Zabuza didn't intimidate him as much as before. "Whatever Naruto did, it made all of us more comfortable," thought Sasuke. He nodded briefly to Naruto, who gave a brief nod back. "So what happens now then?" Zabuza asked Kakashi. Zabuza blurred and stood on the river they had just crossed. "I have some fun with your Uzumaki brat, then test the Uchiha, then I will kill Tezuna and you and be done with it all," said Zabuza with an evil laugh. Kakashi's hand went to his headband and with a glare he lifted it, revealing his Sharingan. "You will have to get through me first, Zabuza," said Kakashi with a harsh tone. Zabuza laughed once more. "The Sharingan, you honor me, Kakashi," said Zabuza. Kakashi simply stood ready. "None who have seen it have lived. And neither will you," said Kakashi before he disappeared. Zabuza then blurred, meeting Kakashi in the middle. How does Kakashi have the Sharingan?" muttered Sasuke. Naruto shrugged. "He was on a team with Obito Uchiha, perhaps he got it from him," said Naruto, though he knew the complete story. Kakashi had told him one night when Naruto was training. Naruto had grown close to Kakashi over the 2 months they had been a team. Kakashi had told Naruto a lot about his parents, about Kakashi's past team and his hesitance to have another. Naruto had been eager to listen, and it had become a sort of tradition for them. Naruto would often wait to find Kakashi sat on the bench in the garden. They were the only family they had left. Naruto knew logically that just latching his feelings onto another just because they offered some form of connection to your lost family was wrong. But both Kakashi and Naruto secretly found solace in the other. Naruto watched as Kakashi jumped backwards, dodging the wide slice from Zabuza's blade. "You are getting on my nerves," growled Zabuza as he jumped onto the water, his hands flashing through hand seals. "Be careful," said Kakashi as a warning to the team. Naruto grabbed the hilt of his tanto, Sasuke grabbed a kunai in one hand, the other was in a sling. Sakura shivered slightly as she clutched a kunai. Tezuna was looking on in fear. "I will protect them all," Naruto thought. Kakashi cursed silently, knowing that his vision with the Sharingan was impaired because of the mist that was forming. "Hidden mist jutsu," called out Zabuza. Naruto activated his Rinnegan, because in the low visibility, Sasuke wouldn't be able to see it. It was an argument and conversation Naruto wanted to avoid. "He's close," muttered Sasuke. Naruto nodded and focused on finding chakra instead of seeing through the mist. But he found he couldn't do it. He frowned slightly. Before he was able to see chakra, but now no matter how much he focused, the mist blurred his entire vision. Heart, spleen, liver, lungs, brain. "So many ways to kill you, which one shall I go for?" muttered Zabuza coldly in the mist. Naruto sensed more than saw the blade coming at him to decapitate him. Naruto in a blur pulled out his chakra saber and blocked the blow. His arm shook momentarily from the shock, he heard a quick snort and in a blur the blade was gone. Sasuke deflected the blade swipe that was sent his way. The kunai was quickly batted out of his hand painfully. Sasuke was about to flinch when he was met with a warm liquid hitting his body. Naruto stood with a crouch, his tanto slid home with a click. "Careful Sasuke, he's using clones," said Naruto. Sasuke blinked in shock and watched as Naruto disappeared in a cloud of smoke. "So the Uzumaki brat can use clones. Looks like I have to take you out first," Tazuna growled. Zabuza. Naruto moved almost instantly. Tazuna had ducked to avoid being decapitated, which gave Naruto the opportunity to use Tazuna as a springboard. As Naruto leapt into the air, 3 Zabuzas jumped up to meet him. Naruto smirked slightly and with a flick of his wrist and a spin, shuriken had struck each of the clones, dispelling them instantly. Naruto quickly formed the ram seal and sucked in his chakra, before expelling it rapidly, mixing it with the little he knew about nature chakra manipulation. The effect was instantaneous. The fog cleared in a large ring outwards. It stopped just beyond the river, revealing the battle area. Zabuza looked at Naruto in shock as he landed on the ground with a graceful landing. Kakashi landed a series of hits on Zabuza, pushing him backward slightly. Kakashi thought he was gaining the upper hand when suddenly his feet touched water. Zabuza quickly flashed through hand seals and held an open palm to Kakashi. Kakashi cursed as he was encased in a water bubble. "Damn it," grunted Kakashi. Zabuza just smirked. "Water prison jutsu, complete," chuckled Zabuza evilly. He looked at the Genin and smirked as Naruto stood back in his original position. "Leave them alone," growled Kakashi. Zabuza just smirked. "Uzumaki-kun, is that a chakra saber?" called Zabuza. Naruto just raised an eyebrow. "And what if it is?" questioned Naruto back. Zabuza shivered slightly, his eyes alight with satisfaction. Because, other than the white fang wielded by Sakuma Hokage, there were only 2 others made, both belonging to the 3rd Uzukage, Daisuke Uzumaki. "Don't look so surprised, I have been looking for them for years," said Zabuza. Naruto smirked slightly. "And how do you know it's one of those?" asked Naruto. His voice was intrigued whilst his face remained calm. Kakashi smirked inwardly. Naruto was just a wind up. "Because brat, your blade has a fox engraved on it," said Zabuza. Naruto smirked slightly and pulled the blade from its scabbard. "So it does. Question is, how much do you want it?" asked Naruto. Kakashi felt his stomach drop. Zabuza laughed manically. "So much I can taste the blood I could shed with that blade, but still you only have one," said Zabuza. Naruto clearly caught the bait. He winked to Kakashi. "I wouldn't be so sure," said Naruto. Zabuza felt his eyes widen and an invisible smirk appeared on his face. "Is that right? Then here I come," said Zabuza as he vanished in a blur. Kakashi turned and realized a clone was keeping the prison active. He looked back at the fight and what he saw made his eye widen. Naruto held the point of the tanto against the side of Zabuza's massive cleaver. Naruto smirked at the blade. Zabuza too had his eyes wide open. "Disappointing," said Naruto simply. Zabuza reached with his free hand and pushed on the blade. Naruto frowned inwardly as the force on his blade doubled. Naruto simply dropped his blade to the left. Zabuza, losing his counterbalance, felt his blade slam into the ground. Before he had a chance to retrieve it from the ground, Naruto ran up the flat side of the blade, and with a shimmering blue foot, he landed a heavy kick into Zabuza's jaw. Zabuza, not expecting such force, skidded backward slightly. Naruto, in the same movement, flipped his body slightly, his free hand grasping the hilt of Zabuza's massive blade. Naruto pulsed the fire to his muscles and with an effort tugged the blade out of its home in the ground. Naruto, still in midair, spun around in an attempt to cleave Zabuza right down the middle. Zabuza looked up and cursed as his own blade was coming down to cleave him in half. He jumped back slightly and frowned as his bandages covering his mouth fell away, a blue aura surrounding his blade. "That's the Uzumaki for you, able to understand seals almost instantly," thought Zabuza. He watched as Naruto gracefully flipped and landed on the hilt of the cleaver, his hands quickly moving through hand seals. He ended with tiger and Zabuza cursed. Naruto sucked in a breath and expelled a large blue fireball. Zabuza felt his eyes widen further, his body almost locking down to pure shock. Zabuza landed on the water and with a quick flash of hand seals, a blob of water rose from the water. Zabuza felt a sweat bead trickle down his face. He finished the hand seal and a large shark flew out of the water into the encroaching blue fireball. There was a hiss as the fireball shrunk. Zabuza cursed and jumped sideways. Zabuza frowned as he realized he couldn't see the shore. The steam from the jutsu clash made visibility weak. He turned and watched as the blue fire disappeared into the water. Zabuza used the sunshine seal on his blade to appear next to it. He turned and with quick reflexes pulled the blade out of the ground, diagonally blocking Naruto's blade, which had been lazily thrust backward in the attempt to stab Zabuza as he went to his blade. Naruto turned his head slightly, his cold eyes roaming over Zabuza briefly, before he launched himself upwards, doing a small backflip. Zabuza moved his blade up to block one of the strikes from Naruto. Naruto carried on his back flip over Zabuza and went to slice Zabuza's back. Zabuza quickly moved his blade to block once more. Naruto twirled the blade elegantly and thrust harshly towards Zabuza. Zabuza turned his blade flat and blocked the attack. He looked at Naruto with something akin to respect. Zabuza heard a strange metallic grating noise. He looked down and felt his eyes widen as the chakra saber began to push through the blade. Team 7 and Tazuna all looked at Naruto with wide eyes. Zabuza hasn't even got a hit and thought Sakura with fear and respect. Sasuke just stood with wide eyes, his mind running wild. He's so strong, that blue fire, a strike from water didn't even stop it. He's fast, he's predicting all of Zabuza's moves before he even makes one move himself. This is the real Deadlast, this is the one who was hiding, Sasuke thought to himself. He felt himself seethe in jealousy. That boy, I knew there was something about him, Tazuna thought to himself. Kakashi just looked at Naruto with pride. Sensei, Kushinaken, you would both be proud of my little brother, Kakashi thought. Zabuza just looked at the blade slowing coming through the blade. You are related to the third Uzukage, said Zabuza. Naruto smiled slightly, his eyes focused. Yes, he's my grandfather, said Naruto. Zabuza waited and then once the blade was through his cleaver, he jumped back, wrenching the blade out of Naruto's grasp. He jumped in swiftly pulling out the tanto. He launched it at Naruto in a blur. Naruto blinked and moved forward. Team 7 and Tazuna watched as Naruto curved his right hand like he was holding a blade, and then a small crackle of yellow lightning flickered in his hand, and suddenly another tanto was in his hand. Zabuza felt his eyes widen slightly. Naruto sliced the point of the speeding blade, slicing the blade upwards. Zabuza stood with a smirk on his face. You are something else, brat. Looks like I've been going easy, chuckled Zabuza. Naruto suddenly felt an increase in Zabuza's chakra. You were holding out on me, said Naruto calmly. Zabuza laughed boisterously. I'll admit, I thought you had the drop on me, you almost hit me a couple of times, said Zabuza. Naruto simply stared. How do you know about my grandfather, asked Naruto simply. Zabuza laughed slightly. Academy in Kirigakure is a lot different to you weak leaf folk. We are taught all those who are strong and defeated the strongest. Your grandfather Daisuke Uzumaki had killed many of our shinobi, but also a few of our best swordsmen. None could touch him in battle. Many of the Kiri residents and especially the 7 swordsmen wish to have his blades in our collection. They are the ultimate in sealed weaponry, and his katana Kimiko, I would kill anyone just to touch that blade once, said Zabuza. Naruto nodded and holding out his empty hand, he snatched his tanto back as it fell in front of him. Zabuza looked up and whistled. So what happens now, asked Naruto. Both Zabuza and Naruto were stood still staring at each other. Naruto held one of the tanto in a reverse grip, whilst the other was held normally. Zabuza was about to answer when the sound of water rushing met their ears. Naruto smirked and jumped backwards, landing softly on dry land. Sasuke and Sakura both then realized Naruto was stood on the water's surface. Something a new Jonin shouldn't be able to do. Zabuza jumped back in surprise as 3 water sharks flew at him. Kakashi stood there with a glare on his face. Zabuza watched as a Naruto clone dispelled. He looked at Naruto with a glare. Chicken shit, knew you couldn't beat me, huh, said Zabuza as he dodged the attacks. Naruto shrugged his shoulders. You're a Jonin, one of the 7 swordsmen, no matter what tricks I have up my sleeve, I would not win, said Naruto. He knew he was lying slightly, he had a few tricks that would make him win in an instant. But the Hokage had told him to only use them in a dire situation, and to reveal them to only a few people. Naruto may not be of the right skill to fight you yet, Kakashi sneered, but I am more than ready to kill you, said Kakashi. Zabuza and Kakashi flew at each other with new vigor. Naruto felt his knees buckle beneath him. Sasuke caught him around the waist with his good arm, Sakura helping on the other side. Well done, idiot, muttered Sasuke. Naruto smiled at him. Sakura just smiled at the two. Why did you collapse, Naruto asked Sakura. Naruto sighed as he felt his chakra reserves taking a hit. I used a couple of high chakra consuming jutsu, I sunshined a couple of times and strengthened my limbs with the blue fire. My reserves took a hit, said Naruto honestly, his calm face was open. You did well, Naruto, said Tazuna, his voice full of respect. Naruto looked out to the fight with Kakashi and Zabuza. If he was serious from the beginning, I would have lost, said Naruto. Sasuke nodded in understanding. Sakura frowned slightly. Don't say that, Naruto, you still know some Uzumaki seals, whispered Sakura. Naruto blinked and nodded slightly. True, the fight is coming to a close, said Naruto. They watched as Kakashi had hypnotized Zabuza, and was now using his own jutsu against him. Zabuza was struck with a particularly strong jutsu, and as Kakashi was about to deal the final blow, Two senbon shot out and embedded in Zabuza's neck. Naruto struggled to keep his eyes open, but a force was pulling him under. "Naruto, we need to talk," muttered the Kyuubi almost sleepily. Naruto wished to watch the end of the fight, but his unconsciousness caught him in its vice grip.
That's it for this video. I hope you all enjoyed the video. Don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and follow me on my other social media accounts. Anime God here, and I'm signing off.